In 2015, I was having my employee evaluation, my annual evaluation with my boss. We're sitting in his office, and after he was done with my evaluation, he looked at me and said, "Now that your daughter has graduated, what does Lisa want?" My daughter was the youngest. He knew now I was an empty nester. And I just felt very seen in that moment because he had identified something in me that I hadn't. He knew that I was the type of person that required continued growth. He was asking me something that I wasn't even asking myself at that point. And it was just a moment that was basically a call for me to become intentional with my life, to decide what intention did I want as far as a career. I'm Lisa French, a former race car driver and turned empowerment coach. This podcast is about exploring a mindset, belief, and deliberately creating a life that you truly love. My goal is for you to find a little piece of yourself in my stories and lessons, inspiring you to step into your own power. Whether you're here to learn, reflect, or simply feel a little less alone in this world, you are in the right place. I'm so happy to have you here as we journey toward a life filled with clarity, purpose, and possibility. What does it mean to live with intention? I'm going to give you some various stages of how and examples of how this might show up in your life. One of the categories is called drifting. Imagine it being like a boat out in the ocean or a big body of water where there's no engine running. If it's a sailboat, there's no sails up, whatever. So the boat has no control over where it's going. It's just drifting along, floating wherever the current takes it. In racing, drifting would be like going through the corners and there's no traction for forward motion, just kind of drifting sideways. For me, some examples of where this has showed up in my life, definitely after my mom passed away, I was very much at a loss. I didn't know how to navigate the grief. I knew that, I was not even remotely emotionally myself. I was faking being happy in a way, going out with my friends and trying to act like everything was okay, I guess is the better way to say it. And when really I'd rather just have been home alone, and not having to be social or interact with people. Another time would have been the winter before I moved to Florida. I was living in Iowa in the winter of 2018. I was just in this weird funk. I was spending a lot of time on the couch watching TV, which was definitely not me at all. And when friends would reach out wanting to hang out, do something, I just didn't ever feel like it. But I didn't know really there was nothing particularly wrong. I couldn't identify really why I was feeling that way. Then with my job, I had come to a point where everything just kind of fell on repeat. We have the position I was in, went to a lot of meetings that were on monthly. They just every month the same meetings were happening over and over, and then throw in all your other random meetings. There was nowhere upward movement in the same type of position that I was in as the executive assistant. There was only so much you could do to change the job and have it be different at all or expansive. So overall, drifting is just what happens when life isn't lighting you up on the inside and you're just going through the motions and staying busy. Another category we call deciding. And this part, now you realize that you do want something better for your life, or maybe just a particular area of your life. And you start making choices, reaching for the next best feeling. For me, when my boss asked me, "Now, what does Lisa want?" And I felt very seen, but I also didn't have an answer. So that tripped the wire kind of for me to start looking at that and, well, what if I did leave this position, this job, what are my options and what feels good? Is it going to be an executive assistant at an organization in Des Moines? And I'm like, nah. I didn't feel that. Is it finding maybe a job back in my hometown and, the place where I always feel grounded when I return there? It was just kind of sorting those things out, thinking of all the different possibilities I had. And does this feel good? Does this choice feel good? After my mom passed away, I started realizing all the things that I wasn't doing that I probably would enjoy doing, because ever since I was racing as a child and then went into racing as an adult, but then past that, I was still going to the track all the time, even though I was no longer a driver. And basic racing, going to the track, if you're going to the racetrack, you're going for the most part, depending on where you live, you're going April through September. So every Saturday night, that's what I was doing. Especially when you live in Iowa and your window of like really good weather is pretty limited. I started thinking, I'm really wasting a lot of time that I could be doing other things. So I started going to Iowa Cubs games, which I grew up watching the Chicago Cubs with my mom on TV. And, fun things like little concerts or festivals and that sort of thing, and doing, little trips with my kids or little fun things with them. Then for the whole deal with Florida, it was definitely a lot of small decisions, saying yes to this. Oh, this feels good. It just kept evolving. So first I thought, oh, it's a riding retreat. And this is what I want to do. This is what I want to focus on. Then, oh, well, obviously that means you got to quit your job, but you also need to still have work to help pay the bills. It was the riding retreat. At first I thought, oh, I'll go to Florida because we had been to Florida several times racing, and I've always loved it as a child. So I thought, well, go there. But then I thought, well, why don't you go somewhere you've never been? So I've never been to the Panhandle of Florida. And oh, if I'm going to start working, that means I'm going to meet people. I'm going to get immersed in the community. I kind of realized eventually that this is going to be a move, not you're going on a writing retreat and then sorting out what you're doing after that. So that would happen over a span of about a month in 2018, started around the beginning of March. Then by the 31st, and I was that weekend, at the end of the month, I was heading to Tulsa to spend the weekend with my kids and celebrate my daughter's 21st birthday. I gave them the news that I was moving to Florida. So an intention isn't just making a wish and hoping it comes true. It's the decision to identify what truly matters to you and then aligning with that through your actions and your thoughts. So the last category I want to go over is what I call the driver's seat. This is where you are a full active participant in where you are going in life. You're making decisions and taking action, but most importantly, you are excited about the life and the direction that you're going. In a race car, you are not passive whatsoever. You can, at least we hope we're not passive. In a race car, there are constant micro decisions happening. You're reading the track to see where other cars are and if you need to pass them or whatever, and what's the fast line around the track. You're feeling the car and how's it handling, listening to the noise of the engine and that sort of thing. You're constantly engaged. And that is truly what intentional living feels like. So for my Florida move, I had no job lined up. I didn't even bring a car with me. I just drove a motorhome down here. I didn't know a soul here, but I was so lit up. I was so excited about coming here and just incredible energy behind all of that. That's the feeling that you like to have when you're in the driver's seat. And so many things were happening, falling into place without really having to do much for it to make it happen. It just I had a thought that I needed like, okay, now I need to get a car. Then I kind of laughed about it and said, oh, that's funny. Like, you can't Uber to go car shopping because, you get there and you're like, oh, I don't see anything I like. Now you're stuck at the car lot, trying to wait for a ride to come pick you up. And within minutes of me having that thought and kind of laughing about it, I had a message from a friend who I'd known for a long time in racing. His background, he is a videographer, and he messaged me and said, hey, I have a buddy that lives in Panama City. I told him about what you were doing, and he told me to give you his phone number based on this guy's age. And I believe I understood that this friend was from his hometown. So I assumed they were like old school friends or whatever. And so I thought, oh, I wonder if this guy's retired. I asked him and he said, yes, well, perfect. I need him to take me car shopping. That's exactly how, like, things like that were happening all of the time. But it was because of the energy that I had behind what I was doing. Everything just kept falling into place for me. So you can't control every detail, but you can control whether you're paying attention and making choices versus just reacting. So if you find yourself drifting, there's nothing wrong with you. Drifting is just what happens when you operate on autopilot in life and you forget that you're allowed to take the wheel and still steer where the direction you want to go. I hope the big takeaway too is that you don't have to feel happy and lit up all the time, but to recognize when you are not joyful and then trying to make the decisions of what's going to get you to feeling that. So if this episode has you thinking, I do have something free for you. It's my visualization guide on intentional creation. And it's just a good companion about what I talked about today. And it's the same method that I used when I started practicing intentional living. It takes less than 10 minutes to do the practice. And you can get it on my website at lisafrench.rocks/visualization, or I'll also drop a link in the show notes. Also, I'm working on something right now for people who are ready to stop drifting and start deciding. I will have more to share soon. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stay close. Thank you for being here.